Welcome to Popcorn Daydream. And today we're headed back in time to talk about some of the pop culture happenings of 1951. So, first up, let's talk about Jack in the Box. Robert Oscar Peterson already owned a handful of successful restaurants, including Topsy's Drive In, which first started popping up in 1941. But by the late 40s, Peterson was ready to try something new. In 1947, he got the rights to an intercom ordering system and decided to convert one of his Topsy's drive-ins to a brand new concept focused on speed, which would become the drive-thru. And he decided to call his new experimental restaurant Jack in the Box. And on February 21st, 1951, the first Jack in the Box officially opened. And soon, all of Peterson's restaurants were redesigned with intercoms and rebranded as Jack in the Box.
Daddy! Shh! Gee, Mom was counting on that Jell-O cake for Johnny Scout meeting tomorrow. Okay, Daddy. It's so easy to make a cake with Betty Crocker cake mix. I'll make her another one.
So next, let's talk about Dennis the Menace, who made his first appearance in newspapers on March 12, 1951. The comic strip was created, written, and illustrated by Hank Ketchum, and it started out in just 16 papers. And while Dennis was getting laughs on the comic pages, another kind of troublemaker was making waves in the literary world. J.D. Salinger's The Catcher in the Rye hit shelves that July, introducing the world to Holden Caulfield, a character who's been puzzling and provoking readers ever since. Over the years, it's become one of the most frequently challenged and censored books in American schools and libraries, but it's also one of the most studied. And while readers were diving into The Catcher in the Rye and debating what it all meant, television was having a breakthrough moment of its own. In 1951, CBS aired a special program called Premiere, which made television history. Premiere featured a lineup of familiar faces like Ed Sullivan, Arthur Godfrey, Gary Moore, and Faye Emerson. But this wasn't just another variety show. It was the very first color broadcast shown on a major network. The show aired on June 25th, 1951, live from CBS Studio 57 in New York City. And it went out to just 5 cities: Boston, Philadelphia, Baltimore, New York City, and Washington, D.C. And because color TVs were so expensive and new, and only a few stations carried the broadcast, hardly anyone saw it. On top of that, CBS's color system wasn't compatible with the black and white sets that most people, if they were even lucky enough to have a TV set, owned. But Premiere offered a glimpse of what was to come. It was a first step towards the colorful television world that would soon fill American living rooms and capture so much of the nation's free time. And 1951 also happened to be the year that the CBS I logo premiered. And in other TV news, 1951 brought a wave of new shows to the airwaves.
Ladies and gentlemen, the story you are about to see is true. The names have been changed to protect the innocent.
Several popular radio programs made the jump to television, including Amos and Andy and Dragnet. And viewers also got the Dinah Shore Show, the Roy Rogers Show, and one of the earliest soap operas, Search for Tomorrow. And the Lawrence Welk Show made its television debut on May 11, 1951, when it began to air locally in Los Angeles on KTLA, where band leader Lawrence Welk and his orchestra played what they like to call champagne music. It was light and bubbly. The show became such a local favorite that in 1955, ABC picked it up for national broadcast. And from there, the Lawrence Welk Show became one of the longest-running music programs in television history, lasting all the way until 1982. And even now, reruns can still be found on public television. And along with The Lawrence Welk Show, a few other memorable programs made their TV debut in 1951. The Red Skelton Show premiered in the fall, bringing Skelton's mix of comedy sketches and lovable characters from the radio to the television screens. And this year also gave us The Jack LaLanne Show, one of the very first fitness programs on television. Jack encouraged viewers to get up and exercise right along with him in their living rooms. The show originally aired locally on KGO TV in San Francisco, but it was picked up for national syndication in 1959 and went on to become the longest-running exercise program in TV history, with more than 3,000 episodes before its ending in 1985. But the biggest debut of all came that fall with I Love Lucy. The story followed Lucy Ricardo, a lovable homemaker with big dreams, and her husband Ricky, a band leader who is always trying to keep her out of trouble. Their neighbors and best friends, Fred and Ethel Mertz, were never far behind, usually getting pulled right into Lucy's latest scheme. I Love Lucy quickly became the most popular show on television, and it remains one of the most influential TV comedies ever made. And while Lucy and Ricky were winning over TV audiences, the movie theaters were having a big year too. Walt Disney's Alice in Wonderland premiered in New York City on July 28th, but it was not a hit at first. Critics hated it and it flopped at the box office. It wasn't until the 1970s, when it was re-released, that audiences finally embraced the Disney classic. And moviegoers also got to see The Day the Earth Stood Still on the big screen, which is still considered one of the greatest science fiction films of all time. In Tennessee Williams' A Streetcar Named Desire, Marlon Brando reprised his stage role as Stanley Kowalski, delivering a powerful performance that earned him his first Academy Award nomination. An American in Paris dazzled audiences with Gene Kelly's dancing and George Gershwin's music, going on to win Best Picture at the Oscars. The African Queen, starring Humphrey Bogart and Katharine Hepburn, was part adventure, part love story, and it earned Bogart the only Oscar of his career. There was also A Place in the Sun, starring Montgomery Clift, Elizabeth Taylor, and Shelley Winters, a romantic drama that became one of the year's biggest critical hits.
Every Wheaties flake you eat builds up your wheat power, gives you energy to burn the solid, lasting energy of rich whole wheat. Depend on it. Wheaties give you all the grain because there's a whole kernel of wheat in every Wheaties flake. Don't be satisfied with less. Remember, what sparks a champion sparks you. And champions choose Wheaties.
And sports fans had plenty to cheer about in 1951, especially if you were from New York, because Mickey Mantle began his rookie season with the New York Yankees, giving fans their first glimpse of a player who would go on to become one of the greatest of all time. And at the same time, another Yankee legend was saying goodbye. Joe DiMaggio retired, closing out one of the most celebrated careers in baseball history. And there was another moment that every baseball fan knows: the shot heard round the world. On October 3rd, the New York Giants' Bobby Thompson hit a dramatic game-winning home run in the bottom of the ninth inning to beat the Brooklyn Dodgers and win the National League pennant. It's still considered one of the greatest moments in Major League Baseball history. And New York fans got even more baseball drama as the Yankees defeated the Giants 4-2, winning their 14th World Series title. And basketball had its own historic moment that year. On January 6th, the Indianapolis Olympians and the Rochester Royals battled through 6 overtimes, the longest game in NBA history. And the Olympians finally won 75-73. So that's a look back at some of the pop culture highlights of 1951. If you enjoyed this walk down memory lane, be sure to hit the subscribe button so that you don't miss the next one. And thank you so much for watching.
Now, a boy we know was called Mopey Joe, 'cause he didn't like his breakfast. So his mom was sad, his dad was mad. At school, Joe's marks were kind of bad. But a neighbor who had that trouble, too, told Joe's mom just what to do.
Ovaltine. Ovaltine. Get Ovaltine.